The rebels are outmatched, their ships dancing through space with desperate grace. Maneuvering through the deadly barrage, their pilots execute evasive tactics, every turn a calculated risk. Each explosion that erupts from the hulls of their ships is a brutal reminder that time is slipping away. For every rebel fighter that survives, another is destroyed. Every moment spent in the fight pushes the mission further off course. As the battle rages on, the emotional toll on the rebels begins to show. It's not just the physical strain, the heat, the sweat, the exhaustion, but the internal toll. The ideology they've clung to for so long, the belief that they can win, that they can take back what was stolen, begins to crack under the weight of reality. One rebel pilot, after dodging a volley of fire, speaks into the comms, his voice ragged with desperation. Is this what we're fighting for? To die in the cold void of space for a planet that's already gone? There is no answer. Only the cold silence of space and the distant hum of the fleet's engines. Inside their makeshift command center, a decision has to be made. Do they press forward and risk the annihilation of their fleet, or do they retreat, leaving behind the survivors and any chance of finding the knowledge that could defeat the Empire? The tension between these two choices begins to tear at the fabric of the rebel group. There are no easy answers. Each option comes with a price, and the consequences of either choice are immeasurable. The ideological rift that has always simmered beneath the surface now boils over. Some rebels argue that the mission is too important to abandon, that they cannot lose this chance to reclaim Earth. But others, those who have lost loved ones, who have seen too many of their comrades fall, argue that survival is the only thing that matters now. They suggest retreating to fight another day, but the more seasoned leaders know that the Empire will hunt them down if they do. The war won't end with their retreat, it will only be prolonged, and their numbers are dwindling. As the debate rages on, the conflict outside grows more chaotic. Alien warships surround the rebel fleet, forming a deadly trap. The rebels are caught in a vice. The tension is unbearable, their options dwindling with every passing second. The rising action reaches its peak when one of the rebel ships, a heavy cruiser, is hit directly by a plasma blast. It begins to break apart, torn asunder by the force of the impact. Its crew, all lost in an instant, is now nothing more than drifting debris in space. The loss of the ship is the breaking point. There is no more time to debate. The mission must continue, failure is no longer an option. In this moment, the rebels make their choice, they press on, risking everything, to complete the mission. They are committed to reclaiming Earth, even if it means every last one of them may fall in the process. The stakes have never been higher. The rebellion is no longer a fight for survival, it is a fight for a chance at redemption. The rebel fleet has pushed past the initial wave of enemy fighters, but the victory is hollow. Their ships are battered, crew members lost, and morale dangerously low. The once unified resolve of the rebellion now feels fragmented. It's no longer about whether they can win, it's about how much more they can sacrifice before everything slips through their fingers. But there is no retreat. There is no going back. They are deep in enemy territory, their mission to extract survivors from the lost cities now a race against time. But in the midst of this chaos, something unexpected happens. A beacon, once thought to be a dead signal from Earth's ruins, suddenly blinks to life on the rebel fleet scanners. The coordinates match. It's impossible, improbable, but there it is. The beacon is emanating from one of the most secure locations in the galaxy, the lost cities. They hadn't just uncovered an outpost, they had uncovered something far more important. The signal is not a distress call. It's a message. And it's far more than a simple transmission. The information contained within it is a roadmap, a key to the core of the Empire's greatest secret, the very technology that enabled their domination of Earth and countless other worlds. The lost cities didn't just house survivors, they harbored something more valuable than anything the rebels had imagined. Inside the transmission, encrypted codes begin to unravel, laying bare a terrifying truth. The Empire's most powerful weapon is not just a fleet of warships or an army of soldiers, it is a biological technology hidden deep beneath the surface of Earth. A weapon that can terraform entire planets. A weapon that could wipe out the last remnants of humanity and any civilization the Empire wishes to extinguish. And humanity has been unknowingly carrying the key to its undoing all along. The realization hits like a blow to the gut. The rebels had thought their fight was about survival, about reclaiming their home. But now they see that the conflict is about far more than their planet. It is about the fate of countless civilizations, scattered across the galaxy, who have been oppressed under the Empire's brutal reign. The lost cities held the key not only to humanity's future, but to the power that could bring down the Empire itself. Yet with this revelation comes a chilling reality: the Empire knows they found it. The beacon wasn't just a call for help, it was a trap. The Empire has been waiting for the rebels to discover this information, to expose the vulnerability hidden beneath Earth's surface. The message was a calculated risk on their part, knowing that the rebels would do exactly what they had done, pursue the beacon without question. And now, the rebels are walking straight into the Empire's most lethal defense network. The fleet's commander, after receiving the decrypted message, gathers the remaining leadership in a tense meeting. The walls of their war room are lined with shattered screens, their tactical maps flickering between half-completed calculations and static. She stands before the assembly, her face etched with both dread and newfound resolve. "We can't keep running," she says, her voice hoarse. "The Empire knows what we've found. And we're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for the future of every free world in the galaxy. This is bigger than Earth. We have to destroy the weapon before they can use it." The rebellion had been planning to strike at the Empire's heart, but this new knowledge throws their plans into disarray. The choice is no longer just about rescuing the survivors. They now have to make an impossible decision: do they continue the rescue mission and risk exposing the lost city's secret to the Empire, or do they strike immediately and destroy the weapon, leaving Earth's last defenders to fend for themselves? The rebellion's internal divisions, already fraying at the edges, now threaten to tear them apart. Some rebel leaders argue that they can't afford to abandon the survivors, they can't leave Earth without any hope of resistance. Others, consumed with the urgency of the new revelation, insist that the weapon must be destroyed now, before the Empire can use it to crush any further opposition. It's the moment of truth, the turning point. The decision made here will not just affect the outcome of this battle, but the entire fate of the galaxy. If they fail to act, the weapon will fall into the Empire's hands, and the oppression that has gripped countless worlds for centuries will continue unabated. But if they succeed, the rebellion will risk everything for a chance at a true revolution, one that could change the course of history. As the rebel fleet prepares to make its move, the sense of urgency mounts. The Empire's forces are converging on their location, and there is no more time for second-guessing. The final pieces of the puzzle fall into place: the weapon's exact location, the planet's core where it's buried deep under miles of Earth, one last obstacle between the rebels and their chance at victory. With the revelation of the weapon's existence, the rebellion has crossed the threshold from a desperate struggle for survival to a high-stakes fight for liberation. The cost is unimaginable. The price of failure would be the annihilation of everything they've fought for, and the continued reign of terror the Empire has held over the galaxy. There's no turning back. The stakes have never been higher. The rebel fleet has reached the heart of the Empire's most guarded system, a desolate, barren world known only as Verithar. It is here, beneath the surface, that the Empire's greatest weapon lies dormant, the biological terraforming device capable of reshaping entire planets, bending them to the Empire's will. This is the moment of reckoning. The rebellion's only chance to strike at the core of their oppressors and cripple their ability to dominate the galaxy. The battle to reach Verithar's surface has been brutal. The rebel ships are barely holding together, torn apart by relentless enemy fire, their engines damaged by the Empire's superior technology. The fleet has sustained heavy losses. A once proud group of freedom fighters is now reduced to a handful of ships, each carrying a single, dangerous mission: to destroy the weapon before it can be activated. The Empire knows they are coming. The fleet has already detected waves of incoming reinforcements, a massive armada of dreadnoughts and fighters descending on their location. The trap has been sprung, and the only way out is through. There is no longer any hope of retreat. On the surface of Verithar, the ground trembles as the Empire's forces prepare for the final confrontation. The rebel team, comprised of the fleet's remaining elite soldiers and engineers, makes their descent into the planet's dark, shattered atmosphere. The tension inside their landing craft is unbearable, the air thick with the weight of their mission. Their destination, a cavernous facility buried deep below the surface, a hidden complex where the weapon is housed, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. The facility is an imposing structure of steel and alien architecture, its design cold and foreboding. The rebels breach the entrance with calculated precision, fighting their way through the maze of hallways, the sounds of blaster fire and explosions echoing through the narrow corridors. Every step is a battle, every inch of ground gained feels like a victory snatched from the jaws of defeat. But as they push deeper into the facility, they come to the chilling realization that they are not alone. The Empire's forces, composed of their deadliest elite soldiers and commanders, are waiting for them. A sudden barrage of laser fire erupts from the shadows, forcing the rebels to take cover behind the facility's reinforced walls. It's a standoff. On one side, the desperate rebels, on the other, the overwhelming might of the Empire. The leader of the rebel force, a seasoned captain hardened by years of war, knows this is their final chance. The weapon lies just ahead, in a chamber protected by a fortified door that only the Empire's high-ranking officers can open. Time is running out. The Empire's reinforcements are closing in, and every moment spent fighting in the hallways brings them closer to defeat. As the battle escalates, the captain makes the decision. We split up. Half stay here to hold off the Empire. The rest, with me, will destroy the weapon. There's no hesitation in her voice. It's a brutal choice, but it's the only one that can guarantee their success. The rebellion has always been about sacrifice, and now, that sacrifice will be the key to their survival, or their annihilation. With a final, determined glance at her comrades, the captain leads a small team toward the chamber. But as they approach the door, a blinding flash of light erupts from the far side of the room. The weapon, massive, alien, and terrifying, lifts from its dormant state. The device is activated, its core humming to life as energy begins to surge through its veins. The rebels' worst fear has come true, the Empire has anticipated their every move. Before they can react, the figure of the Empire's commander, ruthless, cold, and calculating, emerges from the shadows. Did you really think you could destroy what was never meant to be destroyed? His voice reverberates through the chamber, a cruel smile twisting his features. The weapon is already beyond your reach. It will change everything, whether you live or die. The captain and her team are pinned down, the force of the weapon's power already destabilizing the atmosphere within the facility. The chamber vibrates, the walls shaking as the weapon powers up, releasing shockwaves that rip through the rebel team's defenses. For a moment, it seems as though all is lost. The Empire's grip on the galaxy is as unshakable as ever. But then, in a twist of fate, one of the rebel engineers, an unassuming but brilliant tactician, manages to access the facility's control systems. He hacks into the weapon's core, forcing a temporary shutdown. The device falters, its energy flickering as if it is uncertain of its own existence. "This is it," the engineer yells, barely audible over the chaos. "We can destroy it, but we need a full shutdown." The captain makes her decision in an instant. "Cover him. I'll take care of the rest." With fire in her eyes, she charges toward the control panel, dodging laser fire from the Empire's soldiers. Her team fights back with everything they have, holding the line as the rebel engineer works tirelessly to override the weapon's core. The minutes stretch into what feels like hours, the intense pressure of the mission hanging like a noose around their necks. The weight of the rebellion's future, of the galaxy's future, rests on this single moment. As the captain reaches the control panel, the tension reaches its peak. The Empire's commander, furious, draws a blaster and charges toward her, but in a final, desperate effort, the captain pulls the trigger on the facility's failsafe, a detonator that will destroy the weapon and everything in its path. The explosion is deafening. The shockwave rips through the facility, sending a surge of energy through the chamber. The weapon is destroyed. The Empire's most powerful tool, the one thing they thought would secure their reign, is gone. The rebels have won. But at what cost? The surviving rebels stagger through the wreckage, their bodies bruised and battered. They've lost comrades, friends, and the world they fought to save is forever changed. But the Empire has been dealt a crippling blow. The path to victory has been paved with sacrifice, and now, the final battle is not just for survival, but for the soul of the galaxy. As the facility collapses around them, the rebels make their way back to the surface. The war is far from over, but for the first time in years, there's a flicker of hope in the darkness. The tide has turned. The rebellion has struck a blow for freedom, and the Empire, for all its might, may finally be vulnerable. The dust has barely settled when the rebels emerge from the wreckage of Verithar's destroyed facility. The ground trembles beneath their feet as the remnants of the Empire's weapon lay in ruins, its enormous form crumpled like a fallen giant. There are no cheers of victory, no triumph in their eyes, only the grim understanding that their journey is far from over. The cost of the battle weighs heavily on them. The rebel fleet, though decimated, still floats above the planet, having successfully weathered the storm of Imperial retaliation. The survivors, shattered and blooded, gather together, their once cohesive ranks now splintered by grief and exhaustion. The fight has been long, and the scars are deep. The captain, the heart of their resistance, surveys the aftermath, her eyes clouded with a mixture of relief and sorrow. "We did it," she whispers to herself, though the words carry little weight. Her voice is hoarse from the constant battle, her body battered from the war that has consumed everything she's known. But at what cost? The loss of life is staggering. Comrades who fought alongside her for years, some who had only recently joined the rebellion, lie lifeless on the ground. Their sacrifice has shattered the illusion of victory. In the grand scheme of things, it feels insignificant. For every life that was saved, countless others were lost. Yet, amid the ruin, there's a moment of quiet reflection. The engineers, the ones who had worked tirelessly to hack the Empire's systems, to destroy the weapon, stand side by side with the soldiers. Their mission may have been accomplished, but the price of that success is engraved in their faces. They don't speak of what they've lost, there are no words that can encapsulate the weight of it all. But the bond forged through the sacrifice is clear. They're not just a rebellion, they're a family bound by an unspoken oath to each other and the future they've risked everything to protect. As the surviving rebels regroup on their remaining ships, the captain pulls herself away from the scene, retreating to her quarters to process the battle. She looks out over the shattered world below. The blue-green of Verithar's once pristine surface is now marred with the remnants of explosions and the hollow scars of war. This was not the victory they had imagined. There would be no return to peace, not yet. She feels the weight of every decision they made, the hard choices that led them to this moment. The rebellion had grown out of desperation, out of the need to survive, to resist the overwhelming power of the Empire. But now, it was something more. The stakes had changed, and with them, their purpose had evolved. The captain's thoughts are interrupted by a voice over the comms. It's a message from the fleet's navigator, crackling through the static. "Commander, you might want to take a look at this." The captain steps forward, her feet heavy on the cold metal floors of the ship as she approaches the command center. The navigator points to a screen, where an encrypted transmission from an unknown source is being decoded. The signal is faint, but clear. The message, once unscrambled, sends a shiver down her spine. "We have been watching. The real fight begins now." The captain's heart skips a beat. She has seen many things in her years of war, but this is something new. The voice is unfamiliar, but the message is unmistakable. The war they thought they had won, the weapon they thought they had destroyed, is just the beginning of something much larger. A new enemy. A more formidable force. And an unsettling sense that the rebellion has been nothing more than a pawn in a far greater game. "Who is this?" the captain demands, staring at the screen as if it will offer some explanation. But the transmission ends as quickly as it began, leaving nothing but static in its wake. "We need answers," she says, turning to her crew, a sense of unease creeping into her voice. "Prepare for the next phase. Whatever we've just uncovered, it's not over." As the rebellion begins to regroup and rebuild, a message begins to spread throughout the galaxy. The Empire may have been struck a devastating blow, but the forces behind it are far more complex than anyone realized. Hidden factions, ancient powers, and shadow organizations with their own agendas are now emerging from the shadows. The battle for Earth, and for the galaxy's future, is far from finished. Across the stars, new alliances are forming. Some are old enemies who now see the Empire's vulnerabilities as an opportunity. Others are rebels from forgotten worlds, planets crushed by the Empire's iron fist, rising up in defiance. And in the distance, a mysterious force watches, waiting to see what the rebellion will do next. The captain stands on the bridge, looking out at the stars, so many worlds, so much at stake. The debris from the battle at Veritha drifts silently in space, a reminder of the sacrifices made, the lives lost. But as she watches, she knows that this is not the end. In fact, it may be just the beginning. "Report," she commands, her voice firm. The officer at the station looks up. "Fleet's intact, Commander. We've patched up what we can, but we're barely functional. We'll need time to recover before we can face another offensive." "We won't have time," she replies, the weight of her words sinking in. "The Empire's only the surface of this problem. There's more coming. We've been blind to what's really out there." As the camera pans out to reveal the vastness of space, an ominous shadow moves across the stars, an unknown fleet, far too large to be a simple patrol. There's something more to this than anyone understands. The rebels have stumbled onto a truth they weren't prepared for, and now, there's nowhere left to run. The captain turns away from the viewport, her eyes steely with resolve. "We need to find out who's behind this. And when we do, we'll strike first." But as she walks away, the screen flickers once more, a hidden transmission emerging from the depths of space. "We're coming." And this time, there's nowhere to hide. The screen cuts to black. Tease for future. If you're curious to see what happens next, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and stay tuned for more. The true enemy is still out there, and the war is far from over. The screen fades, and the words "to be continued" appear, leaving the audience hanging, yearning for what's next. The rebellion has only just begun to realize the full scale of the forces they're up against.